Ms. Shadix?
Katrina Shadix, 1011 Seneca Oak Trail, Geneva, Florida, 32732. First of all, I want to thank you, Chairwoman, for everything that you said concerning purchasing the Yarborough property. I was actually flabbergasted that the county was going to bend over backwards to pay a tax bill for a property owner. This gets into a very scary precedent of like a government bailout. Are we going to pay are the taxpayers going to pay the tax bills for all of the landowners who don't want to wait an extra 3 months to get their money from the state? And like what a police officer and the driver's school instructor used to tell me when I would visit them frequently for getting speeding tickets. I had a lead foot, so I would always go to schools, and so I didn't get the points. They told me, I wrote it down because it was very good, that my lack of time management skills does not constitute an emergency on their part. And in the same aspect, the Yarborough's lack of financial prudence does not constitute a $3.4 million tax bill for the taxpayers. So thank you for saying that, because, like I said, I was speechless that the county was going to do that. And the reason the county does not have to do that is because the Florida Forever program has hundreds of millions of dollars. They do not need county money to buy this land. I actually was a sponsor and attendee of the Florida Forever, of the Florida Wildlife Corridor Summit about 2 weeks ago. And they are bending over backwards to buy land. We know our landowners, a lot of landowners, have the younger generation not wanting to work the land. They don't want to ranch anymore. They don't want to farm. And that's what this program is for the younger generations who want to cash out to developers and destroy all this wonderful land. This program is going to save our environment and save the wildlife and the corridor that the wildlife uses. So, you know, let's let the Yarboroughs wait like everyone else does for their money. And if Bill Hyde would have been here today listening to that, he might have had a heart attack. We might have lost him. That's how. So for me to get up here and replace Bill on a tax issue should say something, should make an impact. And there's another reason. The reason why we buy these lands, why the state buys the lands, I think they had $400 million last year. $300 million was from the feds, $100 million was from the state. The reason why the state buys these lands is because these lands are in danger of development. So we do want to take that danger away. And the reason why the Yarborough land is not in danger of development is one, there's 3 minutes for Executive Director of Nonprofit. Thank you. We do have that lawsuit, and it's kind of been a holding pattern. And we want it to, that's preventing any development from happening right now. There's no way a developer is going to buy that land with an existing lawsuit regarding the development. Second of all, there was that archaeological find recently found on this land. They cannot develop over it. Do you know what the archaeological find was? An African-American Civil War soldier grave site. The Yarboroughs put a dog kennel over that grave site. If that doesn't...
I don't know that's something we should be talking about.
I'm not sure.
I'm not comfortable with that.
I'm not sure that's relevant,
but the statement's been made.
Ms. Shadix, if you have something else that you'd like to address the board?
Yes. Earlier, yes. Commissioner Zimbauer questioned my knowledge about poaching rings, and we do have a lot of poaching and poaching rings going on. This has been a growing issue since the 90s. Senator Mitch McConnell made a statement to Congress about this and said it was going to get worse, which it is. And what we have are several, I'll just say, undercover investigations going on right now. A lot of them I reported, so we can't give details, but there is poaching going on. This is contributing to the Asian black market of peddling bear parts. So there is a lot going on, but we can't talk about that. And as Mike Orlando had stated when I helped them bust another poaching ring 4 years ago, when I first reported it, It took a year before arrests were made. They had to go undercover. They had to do a lot of things to get this evidence. It was pretty gruesome. But every month, law enforcement called me and told me what was going on and said, don't say anything, don't say anything. So I should probably apologize to the FWC for bringing up the poaching problem. However, I don't think it's detrimental because I didn't give any details of all of the undercover investigations going on. But there is a lot of poaching going on. So we don't need to dismiss that. We need to focus on peacefully coexisting with our bears with securing the trash instead of relocating them. And last thing, I caught berry poachers, with the bears having all of these issues coming at them at many different angles. We have people that pick the saw-palmetto berries, their main food source, this time of year, and I actually caught 2 of them in Lake Mills Park, brazen. Seminole County did a great job. They actually called me back to do a photo lineup and pick them out. So there is that undercover investigation going on. And Nancy and I were talking, and what we would, a dream come true for that Yarborough property would be to restore wildlife habitat and put all this natural wildlife food on there so they can live on there happily ever after. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Shadix. Then the county manager's report.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Yes, just a couple items under my report this afternoon. The first will be, actually the next 2 presentations will be done by Mr. Doer, our Leisure Services Director. The first one is on Florida Forever. Just wanted to give the board an update on our application that's going through the process. And as you go through this, we do have a recommendation for the board to consider at the end for discussion as well.
Great. Thank you so much. Mr. Durr.
Good afternoon. For the record, Rick Durr, Leisure Services Director, Seminole County. Very briefly, we've got a lot of things going on, particularly this month with the Yarborough property Florida Forever application. But before I dive into that, and just to give an overall history for those that aren't familiar with the process, on April 30th, the county submitted a Florida Forever application for the acquisition of the Yarborough Ranch. On June the 9th was the first of their ARC, that's the Acquisition and Restoration Council at the state level. That was the first of 3 votes that will occur this calendar year. That was to allow the process to continue forward. In late June, we met staff from various state agencies to do an on-site visit to the Yarborough Ranch property. Lots of pictures were taken. They went ahead and took a look at the whole, basically the application as well as on the ground, boots on the ground, so to speak. There was another ARC meeting that was held in the interim. There was no business regarding this particular application, but we noted it anyway. There was an ARC meeting that happened. And then on September the 12th, the county moved forward with at least beginning appraisals, 2 different state-approved appraisals on the property to move that process ahead. Now, where we currently stand, as I mentioned, there's a lot of things going on in the month of October. Last week, actually on October the 5th, the state released a project evaluation report, which is, I think, about a 17, 18-page document that was posted on the state's website that basically said, based on the state's review and various agencies, here's what we found on the site. Our staff has reviewed that information. We're very happy to point out that 2 other new news, if you will, that came forward during the interim while it was under review. One of which was you all had passed Seminole Forever. So the state staff had noticed that and placed that in the staff report as well, and that's been forwarded to the ARC committee. The second one was during a on-site review, an archaeological. We'll try that again for the third time.
Slow down, Rick.
There you go. An archaeologically significant finding was found on the property, which currently was not under the state registry. As the process continues, additional work will be done there going forward to help document that as well. That evening that the staff report came out, the rescheduled ARC regional public meeting, there were 2 applications that were to be heard. It was up at the Volusia County Commission chambers. It was the Yarborough Ranch and then another project that was in Volusia County. Staff was at the meeting as well as several of you as well. There were 9 different folks who spoke on behalf in favor of the county's application for acquisition of the Yarborough property. 5 of those folks also introduced themselves as representatives of larger groups within Seminole County. All of them had just spoke glowingly about their support for this subject and moving forward. In addition to that, we had a pretty large contingency from Geneva who showed up in green T-shirts that were visible as well, who all signed in. Response from the state's project manager at the time is that they were very happy to see such a great, strong turnout in favor of the application. We provided some additional slides on Friday of last week to Florida Forever staff. Those have been received. And on Friday of this week, which is October 13th, there will be the next ARC meeting. This will be the second vote of the process. This is to allow ARC to have reviewed the staff report as well as any new information. I'll be making a very brief presentation. We're only allowed 3 minutes total to just highlight those two new bits of information as well going forward. At that particular meeting, ARC will vote to then move the process forward again and move that to the December 7th ARC meeting where, should they go ahead and move the process forward, they will then rank the current applications for this particular funding cycle. At that point, we will know exactly where this property and the proposed project falls on their list, whether it be a priority, a really top priority, and then on down. So that is really the outline of the process that will take us through the rest of this calendar year. You see there's a little bit of a gap between Friday's meeting for the ARC and then the December 7th meeting moving forward. So in the interim, as we've continued to have discussions with the current property owners and their representatives, there's a pretty big milestone for them coming up that comes due at the end of this calendar year, and that's specifically a pretty large tax bill that's on the particular property. The Florida Forever process, while it will go through the votes, they will not begin in earnest to talk about and talk to the representatives until during the calendar year 2024. So this particular milestone is coming up, and it's coming up for everyone here locally. So we tried working with a structure to bring back to you today for consideration that says, as we move forward in this process and as the state moves forward in their voting that will take us through to early December, is there something that we can put in place to help both demonstrate the county's seriousness and earnest to promote this and our intention to participate in the process as a partner with the state, as well as potentially address the big bill that's coming up here at the end of this calendar year. So we put together really a four-piece ABCD that really looks at the different possibilities that may happen, all of which will play out as we move forward through until the ARC vote in December. So the first one says, if the ARC vote is favorable, which we have every anticipation it would be, and again, we can't speak for the ARC committee, that's their job. But the idea would be is that we take some earnest dollars, put those in an escrow account, and say, these are the dollars that we can then use to assist in the payment that happens at the end of this calendar year. However, as the vote plays out, should the property gain a priority vote with the ARC, we will continue forward with the process, and then we'll look to disperse those funds to the property owner before the end of the calendar year. So that's the first alternative or different if-then approach. The second one, which is B on the screen, is that what happens if the ARC outcome is not favorable? So we would still look at the possibility of going ahead and saying the county is still interested, however, in proceeding forward with the vote. And before this ever came to you for the Florida Forever application, there was some discussion about what a county acquisition-led plan might look like going forward. Then we would then entertain that discussion in December as well before you at your meeting and what that process would look like going forward. But then we could still continue to then distribute those dollars. The owner would have what they need to move forward, and then we would just shift gears into this Plan B. Plan C says is that if the ARC vote is not favorable, that we would still go forward with the escrow distribution, but if for whatever reason, over the course of X amount of years that it would take to acquire the property, that the county would not be able to find the dollars to go ahead and do so, that there would be something on the table that says minimizes the county's risk, and the county would have something in the game for making that payment at the end of 2023. The last piece of this, which is the right of first refusal, there is a cell tower company who's on their property currently and has an agreement with the family for that particular parcel. There is a right of first refusal for any transaction going forward. Based on our discussions with the current owner, we don't expect that that would become an issue. However, we wanted to acknowledge that it's still out there, and that should that particular company exercise their right of first refusal, basically the county gets the money back, and that transaction then occurs between the family and the cell tower company. So those are the 4 potential wrinkles in all of this as we tried to sit down with the current owner and try to hammer out exactly what the approach might look like. Basically, what we're bringing to you right now is we'd like to be able to return at the November meeting to give you the very latest, put forth at least on the table, here's a structure that we think works for all of these potential outcomes. Get your input into that. We'll then have the ARC vote in early December, so that the next time we meet with you, which will be shortly thereafter on the December 12th meeting, we can lay all of this out in front of you that says, here's what the outcome of the ARC vote was, this is the path we believe we're headed towards, are you good with everything? You then vote on that particular item, and then we move forward with the particular outcome that we know about, at least come that December meeting. So we hope with all of that we put together a structure that we can both return to you as well as the current owner that takes all of these different possibilities into account and still gives you at the dais the ability to go ahead and make decisions along the way during your regular meetings as we move forward into December. And that's my presentation.
And
Mr. Gray?
if I could just add, and I know this is a lot, so what we wanted to do is to provide you a framework as we move forward to the end of the calendar year, so you're not hearing it so you have some options by the time December comes, how we want to move forward with the property. So these are just options for you to consider. So at the next meeting, as Mr. Durr said, is that we could provide a framework on it, and then at the December meeting, we'll have more answers, and that you all could actually make an action of how to move forward in December.
Okay. Commissioner Zembauer and then Commissioner Herr.
Thank you. First, thank you, Mr. Durr, for you and your staff and the county manager. I know you guys, unfortunately, since the meeting was changed that the state did, I had prearranged plans or I would have been at this meeting. And that said, I will support moving forward with the recommendations and next steps that you've laid out. I think that is an appropriate move that keeps us informed, also keeps the state focused, keeps the property owner where we need to have them, so we can move to those next steps and understand what's going to happen come December. So I will support that.
Commissioner Herr?
I'm seeing something different than I heard.
Okay.
And so I just want to get the record straight. The meeting where we'll know the outcome happens in December, but we're being asked for a decision in November. BCC approval and formal execution.
Right, and so in November, what I want to bring to you is if we move forward with a purchasing agreement for the property, in case Florida Forever application is not successful, we are going to show you the framework of what that would look like. And to move forward, you do not have to, I know on here it says to make BCC approval. We're going to take that off, and that we'll show you that framework. So at that next meeting in December, our final meeting of the year, the ARC will already, the Florida Forever Committee will already had voted to place this property on the list or not, and at that point is when you would make a decision on to move forward, to approve to move forward.
In that case, I would support it.
Commissioner Delary?
Thank you. Mr. Gray,
Yes.
so the property owner is okay with these steps?
We have met with the property owners' representatives. I'd have to ask Mr. Tulp if that is good with him, but we have talked about the framework on how to move forward, and that December would be that final meeting that you all would have to make an action
Okay.
item, how to move forward.
I just want to make sure that everyone on both sides are okay with these steps.
Yeah, and we're actually, and I have the county attorney, her office is already working on an agreement in case we need it to move forward. So we're already starting to work on that piece as well, if that is a direction that the board wants to move in.
Commissioner Constantine.
Thank you very much. And I did hear something about a tax bill, and I just wanted to make sure that, you were talking about December, but you do not have to pay your taxes, obviously, in December.
Right.
So, that gives us a little bit more time, whatever the case may be. But if it's okay, with the one change about the formal execution in November, I would like to move the approval of these recommendations.
So Commissioner Herr has a question, and I also have some questions.
Where are we on the appraisal?
The appraisal, Mr.
So
Durr?
We're talking about
Buying
Yes,
something,
so
buying
the-
something
Yeah.
I haven't seen an
So,
appraisal.
Right.
yeah, the final deadline on the appraisal, and both appraisers were very much under the understanding that while they had 45 days to complete the appraisals, we really needed it sooner than that. However, the 45 days runs out here in about 3 weeks from this past Friday. So by the time it even comes back to you in November, we'll have the appraisals back.
So I would recommend just that we document this after the fact by updating this document and sending
Yes.
it out to align with what it is we're saying. And please add the date for the appraisals to be in there.
Yes.
So that we just keep a running order on behalf of us and the family so that it's all marked down.
Madam Chairman,
Yeah?
I just wanted to, did you make a motion?
Yes, I did.
Then I'll second that motion.
Okay. There's a motion by Constantine and a second by Delary.
I think I already made the motion. but-
Commissioner Limbo already made a motion.
Oh, did you make the
He
motion?
did, and I believe I seconded it
I
when I
agree.
clarified with him.
Okay.
Where was I? That
Got to
was,
pay attention.
that's scary.
I don't remember
I didn't
making
hear
it.
a
I don't
motion
remember. I didn't
at
either.
all.
Well, I was trying to be kind. I
Yeah,
wasn't
could we
like-
ask the clerk? I'm so sorry.
His usual
Assertive.
boisterous self, but I took it as, and I said, and I
if-
agree with it.
I am going to ask Kyla if you wouldn't mind helping me out, because I feel like I must have
They made the
blacked out
motion,
for a
I'm fine.
moment.
I heard a support comment. I did not hear a second. The first motion I heard was from Constantine.
That's what I heard as well. Okay. So under discussion for the motion from Constantine and the second from Delary, I've been very candid from the very beginning of this conversation with the family and with our staff that I do not think the county should be purchasing this property. I love this family, and I think this property is a great piece of property, but I also know our limitations as a county for taking care of the things that we already own. And I hate that I have to say some of these things out loud, because I don't want this to be perceived as a dig at anyone in this process. But the fact that there is a tax bill for a property owner in this community, frankly, is not every other taxpayer's responsibility to figure out how to get it paid for them. And I know that that is a very hard thing to say, because I know we're all trying to make something work. But if the players were different and the game was different, we would never be having this conversation about any other piece of property or family in this community. Taxpayers, the Seminole County taxpayers, should not be in the position, in my opinion, for going into being asked to put money into escrow as a retainer with a timeline involved for the purpose of paying estate taxes or property taxes or whatever these taxes are. I don't even know what the dollar amount is, because it's not mentioned. There's no dollar amount here for what it is we're saying we're willing to move into. There's no
Appraisal.
This, in my mind, is we're putting the cart before the horse. If the state is going to purchase this property, that's fabulous. We will know that shortly. If it comes back that we need to find some other mechanism to, I've said before, if there's a contract for purchase, they already have a development order. It's an avenue that is available. I have to look at this from a fiduciary perspective and as an advocate for all of the taxpayers in Seminole County, not just for this particular circumstance. So I will not be able to support it, given the lack of information of how much is being asked to be put into a retainer, how we would actually fund and take care of this property over the course of how many years. I don't know what the appraisal is for the piece of property. I love y'all, but I can't. So I'll throw those comments out. Commissioner Herr.
So I just want to be clear on, I think, what we're doing today, because perhaps I'm not based on your statements. I don't think we're agreeing to purchase the property today. I think we're agreeing to the modified timeline, and that agreement would come on December 12th, at which point we would have the appraisal. Why can't we remember that
I
one?
don't know.
We would have
Yes.
the appraisal. This is giving us a foreshadow of what the escrow
Correct.
amount would be. The taxes don't.
Where is that amount?
It's,
Does someone have a dollar amount?
Yes.
Because we're having this
It's-
conversation
It's
with a
the-
blank slate.
I found it in the briefing, so
Yeah.
so you guys correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's the first year's worth of the Seminole Forever Fund.
it's a little less than that. It's about 3.4 million that we are, and we'll come back with that in November, what that actual amount is, as well as with, as Mr. Durr said, the appraisal. So again, you're correct. This was just to outline, so it's not, so as we come back in November, you have more information, and then by December, you can make that final decision on how you want to move forward.
So from my perspective, I only put money in escrow when I intend to buy something. But, and for the benefit of the public, let's be honest, there's no numbers in any of this presentation.
And that will
So-
come back in November to you.
Okay, but we're agreeing to
No.
create an escrow account to be used as a retainer with the owners with options
We're
contingent.
We're not doing that yet.
Right.
We're not.
Someone made a motion to move forward with recommendations and next steps, and that's what this is.
We are,
That's a great clarification,
Yeah.
because technically I have the floor. So I think you are correct. That technical piece escaped me, but I think the fact that it was tied to recommendation and next steps, the recommendation and next steps that I was looking at with regard to that is the next page. So I think it's page 6, and that is the timeline as modified. So it starts, at the top of it is October 13th, 2023, and then it goes to November, and we stated that BCC was not going to make an
Correct.
approval and formal execution.
Correct.
That was going to be moved to the December 12th meeting.
Correct.
That were all, so I think what we were saying is that I do think at that meeting, page 5, which is your escrow and all of that good stuff, will be the discussion.
correct.
So 5 comes before 6. I want to be really clear, because we have had, in all earnest, we have had some miscommunication, we'll call it. The family representatives thought that we had given one type of direction, the county manager thought we'd given a different type of direction, and there seems to be continued communication back to individual board members trying to get more clarification on clarification. So these little things do matter if we don't clarify them at this point. And Commissioner Constantine, I saw your hand go up.
I just wanted to confirm that the motion was as Commissioner Herr understood it, so that we are not providing the county staff the authority to establish a trust fund or an escrow account, excuse me. Now, just simply starting with the next step to the next step, and then, we would have, in November, we would have more clear, but in December, we would be
Correct.
able to decide whether or not we do that. So this is not to purchase the property, this is to go to the steps involved.
So let me then just follow up on that, because what I heard was the Seminole Forever funds would be utilized for this. We adopted an ordinance, Seminole Forever, that has a process.
Yes.
Yeah, no.
This circumvents that process before we've even had the first application.
Except for, and I concur that if that was taken from the Seminole Forever, that has not been, that is a place that is not decided yet. And in fact, hopefully our ARC will be established before then, and they could look at that as to whether or not they felt it would be the right place to take the dollars from. This does not say anywhere, and my motion did not say anywhere that we're using Seminole Forever dollars.
Right. It's an option.
And I appreciate that, but what concerns me is we don't know where the money's coming from. We as a board should be directing where these funds are coming from. We just adopted a budget. It did not include however many million dollars. And I just feel like we are chasing the shiny object again. We've got something that was wonderful and people love, but it's another thing where we're getting out and not following our own process. Commissioner Zentbauer.
And let me have an attempt to try to clean this up for the motioner and the second, if I possibly can have a shot at it.
Go right ahead.
I've heard what everybody says, and everybody's got some valid points. And so what I would say is, if we look at page 5, that is the outline of the deal. Whatever deal the family, staff has spoke to, management spoke to. Then you go to page 6, that's where the devil in the details come in, coming back to us. So if I can attempt to clean this up, that I would make you're going to have to call me. I'm prepared to make a motion to move forward. I understand that, but we're having a conversation here. I can't talk to y'all off the record. Is that we go with the recommendations and next steps on page 5 and 6 with the understanding that we're going to know at the dates outlined on page 6 what the actual deal points are and the money associated with it. Then we can make a decision what we're doing at that point, whether we're moving forward or not.
So why wouldn't
And
we
we'll
do
also
that
know
when
what
we
the
have the
state's doing at
information?
that
I don't know
point.
why we're getting ahead of ourselves. Commissioner Herr.
So I think I'm going to attempt to clean up the cleanup. I find myself doing at home. I live in the boy household, and I clean up all the time. I think I would ask the original motioner to consider amending the motion to say that we move forward with the recommendations and next steps outlined on page 6 of the presentation, or 634 of the board book, to include the amendment that the November 14th meeting, the words BCC approval and formal execution are stricken, and moved to December 12th, that they will be presented for BCC approval and formal execution, and that the date be added to that document for the appraisal to be noted. And it really should be for BCC consideration, to your point.
And I thought that that was what you had cleared up at the first time, but yes, I would accept that.
Commissioner Gray.
No,
Mr.
no,
Gray.
I don't want your, yeah.
We have to get this.
And I know, and I apologize, I know this is clear as mud sometimes, and I know everyone has the right intentions at the end of the day, that a decision will be made in the best interest of the county, from all of you. I do know that, so I do apologize for that. So just for clarification, though, so we don't need to come back on November 14th with, what we wanted to do was we could bring back the appraisal, we could tell you what that amount is, we could tell you what the earnest dollars are going to be. We could do that on the 14th, or we could just bring it all back on December the 12th, because then the ARC for Forever will already have their vote. We will know, based on the plan on page 5, the different options that you all can consider on how we move forward. So we could do I could do it all on the December, or I could piece it to you all the way to December.
Question.
Commissioner Zentbauer.
Since we're under discussion, this is for staff. So page 5, very pointed question. Is this the outline of the deal on the table?
As it stands today, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So I asked my fellow commissioners, regardless of understand, we all understand there is no dollar numbers affixed as other than what's in our backup documents.
I have no backup documents. If you have, I'm so sorry, but I have this presentation.
Well, I've got, my record shows somewhere around 3.4 or something.
That's what we've discussed with the family, yes. But we haven't finished any of that.
Sure.
Well, define record, so let's get granular about this. How can half of us have the information and half of us not?
I'm still
Commissioner
talking,
Gray.
I'm still talking with the family regarding that, with the purchase
So we
agreement.
don't.
Correct.
So we do not have a
Correct.
number.
Correct.
So let's just get that on the record, that
Okay.
we don't have a number.
So you don't have a number. So the question I have for my fellow commissioners, do you agree, regardless of what the number is, understanding we're not making a decision today, and we're not making a decision ultimately until the appraisals come back and everything else, do you agree with A through D? If it's $1 million, if it's 30 million, if it's, we don't know at this point.
Well, you already know, I do not, so let's
Okay.
ask, you could ask Commissioner Hurd.
And what I'm trying to do is
We can work our way down.
move this, do you agree with what it sounds like, correct me if I'm wrong, these are the terms of the deal that's been discussed between the parties, is that true or not?
That's in the process now, yes.
Okay, so this is what the parties have discussed and arrived at. What we don't know is what the dollar number is. I think I'm hearing we're going to get that, the 45 days expires whenever, and it sounds like to me that either we or the family will agree or not agree with whatever that
Correct.
number comes back at.
Correct.
Then we have a decision to make, but these are the terms.
Correct.
Not the dollar amount, but the terms.
Correct.
And so I asked my fellow commissioners, do you agree with the terms, notwithstanding we don't have the dollar amount, which I'm hearing we're going to get the dollar amount, and that's when we'd ultimately make the decision? I just want to hear from my fellow, whether you agree with the terms or not agree with the terms.
So I'll go through them.
'Cause that's a whole different-
Apparently, all eyes are looking at me because the three of you gentlemen already agree. So let's just go through them, A through D. So if the outcome is favorable, escrow is distributed this calendar year. We've identified that we don't know where we're getting the money from, and we've identified that we probably should not circumvent our own processes in Seminole forever. I do agree with that. So absent of those two facts, I'm not sure that I can say an absolute yes to that. The reality of it is that unless we're willing to say we're taking it out of reserves, or we're not doing something else with roughly $4 million, $3.5 million, I don't want to make it a bigger number, then I don't know that I can answer that today, which is the reason why I'm saying I don't think we need to answer that today. We need to let the process take place. If the ARC vote outcome is not favorable, that's a much bigger conversation, because now I need to know what it is we are not going to do with that money for the duration of the contract. And by the way, I don't even have an appraisal in my hand. So that's like saying, do you want to buy the car? In all honesty, I feel like I'm on a car lot and the guy's saying, how much do you want your payment to be? And we all know that's a bad idea. Do I want the land to be put into preservation? Yes.
Absolutely.
Do I want the family to be well taken care of? Yes. Those are not mutually exclusive to the citizens of the county being protected from bad decision-making up here. So the idea that you would try to leverage us into answering these questions right now is beyond me, and I don't necessarily know that I want to own a cell phone tower as a backup plan to the plan failing. So I love that you protected us with some piece of value there, like artful. But I think what we should be focusing on is what we can do. This is an iterative process, as all deal cutting is. It's iterative. Agree to the timeline. I, county manager, would tell you that I would want this to be discussed again on November 14th, because as painful as this is, it's the only time we all get to talk to each other and figure out that some of us have pieces of information that other of us don't have. We got to clean that up on our side, so we should bring this back. But the way I outlined it earlier, and I'll resist the urge to do that again, because Bob's leg is going like this over here.
I see you have a motion and a second.
Yes, I do. Are you still wanting others to answer your question? Because I feel like Commissioner Hurd did.
I'll pass on that.
Okay, Commissioner Constantine?
Thank you. Mr. County Manager, does the motion that is before us give you enough to move forward?
Yes.
And also satisfy, I think, that most of us, I'm not going to say all of us, because we still, and nobody is saying that they're going to approve or disapprove, but that we are moving forward and can do what we need to do as in this timeline. Fine. Then I'm happy with the motion as I stated.
So I'm going to, what I'm going to do, because we had an amendment that was not, the seconder did not okay the amendment to your first, yes, but we didn't get a.
I didn't change anything. I haven't said too much.
I know you didn't, but the motioner did. And so you were the seconder. And so we've left it a dangling participle there, waiting to know if you concur with the motioner's amendment.
Can you repeat your amended motion, Commissioner Constantine? So I can be
To take
clear?
page 6, and, I'm going to be very careful so that I don't take page 6, move that, with the exception of the on November 14th, we will still discuss it, but we will have the we will take out the words for BCC approval and formal execution and put that in the December 12th.
So removing everything from page 5?
And get the appraisals.
Oh, yes, and of course,
Should be, Ben.
it should be the appraisals in a timely fashion as soon as we can.
So Commissioner Constantine, just for clarification,
Yes.
so you're removing everything from page 5?
We're not putting that in a formal motion. It's not that we're removing it. It's, that's what the steps that the staff has said that they're recommending, but we are not. But at this point, we are taking it one step at a time on page 6. So the next would be October 13th, then November 14th, then November 7th.
Okay.
So right now, you're only going with page 6 with changing some of the words, correct?
Correct.
Is the seconder okay with the amendment?
Well, I'd like to see page 5 attached to it, to be honest with you.
So is that a no?
And if there's no support for adding page 5, then I will acquiesce to the rest of you, because I'd like to move this thing forward. So I will agree with the motioner.
Okay, so the motion that was stated by Commissioner Constantine and amended, and the seconder was consented to the amendment. Kyla, I'm looking to you to make sure that you have what you need. Move it. Okay, all right. So there is a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any? Oh, I'm so, for Pete's sake. This is
She's
so
saying-
here's my problem.
She's
I
saying
look
no.
okay, no. So I look at this as like a county manager's report, and I shouldn't have done that because we are actually, it's okay? Okay, so for the record, Ms. Harmon had submitted a form to speak, but she's saying that she is waiving her right to speak at this time. My sincere apologies. Are there any other forms related to this item? No, ma'am. Okay, feel free to jump up and down and wave at me at any time.
Was
she? I'm so sorry. So the motion and the second, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
Motion passes 4-1. Are you okay, Mr. Durr?
Yes.